So Dave,
Yes, Bill.
we're supposed to answer the question, what are you going to do with the rest of your wild and wonderful life?
Yeah, big question.
Do you have an answer to that question?
I do. Here's what we should do. You should live the dream. You should pursue your passion with relentless abandon. You should totally go for it. You should be your absolutely best self. And under no circumstances should you settle, because settle sucks. No, you should go for the best.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the answer.
That sounds amazing, Dave.
It would be amazing.
Yeah. Can you do that, Dave?
I have no idea how to do that. I have no idea at all.
I couldn't do anything like that.
You know, I can't either, actually. It's really awful. I keep trying. You know, I try stuff, and I go out there, and then stuff happens I didn't plan on, and people I'd never met show up, and, you know, it's not what I had in mind. It never works, and I'm stuck.
You know, I think you're stuck because of what we call in our book dysfunctional beliefs. One of the big dysfunctional beliefs is you should be the amazing person 110% all the time when you wake up in the morning till the time you go to bed. It's exhausting, but you should do it. It's a dysfunctional belief. It won't work. The other one that we really don't like is follow your passion. Now, if you have a passion, that's great. If you knew at 8 you wanted to be a doctor and now you're a doctor, that's fantastic. But a good colleague, a friend of ours at Stanford, Bill Damon, has studied this, and it turns out 8 out of 10 people, when you ask them what their passion is, they say, well, I've got lots of different ones, or I don't have one that's really the right one. And so this passion thing leaves 8 out of 10 people stuck. So you can't be amazing all the time. You can't follow your passion. But there's one other really big dysfunctional belief.
Yeah, that one I said a minute ago, that great idea of you should be the very, very best version of you, which of course is impossible because there's more than one of you.
Yeah.
Every one of us contains more aliveness than your one lifetime will permit you to live out. There's more than one of you in there. There's a bunch of you in there. There are a bunch of great yous, and they're not the same, and you can't even compare them because the criteria are entirely different. I mean, I just got through coming back from doing this book tour in the UK, and I'm going through customs, and they said, why are you here? And I said, well, I've been doing a book tour. And they go, oh, occupation, author. And I went, no, I'm a Yeah, that's right, I'm an author. That's my new career. Is my author self better than my teacher self? Is my teacher self better than my entrepreneur self? They're entirely different. You can't compare them. There's this old adage in the business world that says, you know, the good is the enemy of the better. And the better is the enemy of the best. Are you being your best? But here's the problem. If there actually is no singular best you, there are lots of good yous that you can't even really fairly compare. But you're still trying to get to the place of the best you, you've just decided to be unhappy for the rest of your life. Which we think is a bad idea. Because you see, the false best is the enemy of the available better. And that's where we want to go. But the challenge still is, we're still trying to figure out this thing called the future, and that's hard. How do we do that?
Well, you know, designers have been inventing the future for years. When I was at Apple, we invented laptops. They hadn't existed before. We didn't know what they would look like before we did it, but we did it. So designers have a way of inventing the future. But the important thing designers always do before they get started is they look around and they try to find the right problem, because problem finding turns out to be way more important than problem solving. Because if you're working on the wrong problem, you will get the wrong answer every single time.
And the wrong problem is trying to figure out the perfect strategy to become the absolutely perfect best you. And the reason that's the wrong problem is it mistakenly perceives that your life is a tame problem that can be solved, when in fact it is a wicked problem that needs to be designed. What do I mean? A tame problem is a technical term developed by urban planners back in the 70s, and a tame problem is a well-bounded, well-behaved problem. It may be a hard problem, but it's well-behaved. If I want to build the Brooklyn Bridge, Once I figure the solution out, it will work just fine. If I want to put an astronaut on the moon or find the shortest route to O'Hare Airport, I can actually solve that problem. And once I solve it, the solution will keep working. Come Thursday morning, the Brooklyn Bridge does not wake up and go, this load bearing is not working for me. I'm just not feeling it today. But in wicked problems, which are intrinsically human problems, that does occur. See, wicked problems are ones where the solution criteria keep changing over time. You won't even know what the answer is until you find it. And once you find it, you can't reuse it again. Once you've designed New York City, you can't put it somewhere else. We certainly couldn't put Chicago anyplace else because it is peerless. There you go. Say something you know they'll like. Okay, and he can't be Dave, and I can't be Bill. So life is kind of a wicked problem, and what we need is an adaptable, flexible approach to figuring that stuff out.
Yeah, and that's where design thinking comes in. Now, we've been working on design since the 60s at Stanford, and we've evolved this thing we call human-centered design, which is based on having empathy for people, coming up with lots of ideas. It's actually reasonably technical, and some people pay north of $250,000 to come to Stanford and learn it. I'm going to teach it to you in one sentence. The whole thing of design thinking, okay? Get curious, talk to people, try stuff. Okay? Get curious, talk to people, try stuff. I'll unpack a little bit of that, the get curious part. If we had more time, we would ask all of you to create 3 completely different versions of your life. We call these Odyssey Plans because your life is an odyssey. It's an experience, it's a journey. It's not something you solve. So you would create 3 completely different versions of your life, and we all have that in us. And then we would ask you, what in any one of those versions are you really curious about? And that curiosity would lead you to the next step.
And the next step brings up the possibility of freaking out because what 3 versions of my life? I don't know how to do. Wait, some of these people I'm sure are going, 3 completely. I'm having a hard enough time coming up with 1.
Huh? You can do it.
And actually, you can do this. We've done this with thousands and thousands of people. In fact, they do it on a single piece of paper in 12 minutes. We can't do that with you tonight. But here's the deal. If you're not sure you could do 3 versions of your life, let me tell you how you can. Thing 1. What's the next 5 years look like if the thing you're currently doing really, really works well? Imagine the coolest version of what your present life is, and just arc it out 5 years. Thing number 2, what would you do if that thing you're currently doing doesn't happen anymore? The entire industry, the entire field died. You're a teacher. Guess what? We now can broadcast all the information into every brain in the world. We don't need any more teachers. It's just over. Just imagine the thing you're doing is over. You're a surgeon. Hey, we have robots for that now. Thanks for sharing. Goodbye. Just imagine the thing you're doing is over. You're not going to sit in a lawn chair waiting for the end of life to come because you're bored. You're going to do something else. 2 industries have died right out from under me, but I'm older than most of you. So things like this really do happen. And the third thing, the wild card, would be, what would you do if neither money nor regard were an issue? If you knew the money was going to be okay, and I promised you they won't laugh, what would you do? That's the wild card. And we've done this with lots of people, and everybody has at least those 3 ideas. So trust us, you have 3 ideas. But once you have those ideas, Bill says the next step is talk to people and try stuff. So what's that about?
Well, that's all about prototyping. Because in life design, you don't plan, you prototype. And we think that there's probably 2 major kinds of prototypes in this area. One, we call a prototype conversation, where you go talk to somebody and ask them for their story. Everybody has a story, and everybody loves to tell their story. And if you ask them, say, Dave, could I buy you a cup of coffee and get 30 minutes of your time, and would you mind telling me how wonderful Dave is? He's probably going to say yes.
That's my favorite topic.
It's his favorite topic. So we have a curiosity in common. I'm very curious about how cool Dave is, and Dave is very curious about how cool Dave is, right? So that's a prototype conversation.
We could get along.
We could get along. But then you can go deeper and you can have a prototype experience where you actually go out in the world and have the embodied experience of something that's in the future of your life. These prototypes are ways of sneaking up on the future Because as we said, you can't know the future, but you can have some curiosity and then try a few things to see, gee, is that person who's doing the thing I'm interested in, that's kind of like me in the future. I wonder if I resonate with their story or that experience I just had. That would be like what I would be doing if I were doing this. So prototypes, simple, inexpensive, quick, really fun ways of figuring out which of your Odyssey plans might be the one you like. But cautionary tale.
Yeah, so we often say don't plan, prototype. Because you really can't plan the future, you have to go experience it. So I'll give an example. A woman we know, we'll call her Elise, but based on an entirely true story. A businesswoman who had a side passion, she actually had a passion, which is Tuscan food and the Italian lifestyle. And she's an HR executive, works in big companies, but had always had this passion and this love, and finally decided to go for it. So she had a passion and go for it, two fabulous cultural concepts. And so she went for it. She found an old deli, bought it, completely refurbished it, installed a cafe as well, little tables, got this thing up and running. And amazingly enough, her first time out of the chute as a restaurateur, a very, very difficult business, she was wildly successful.
Absolutely.
It was terrific.
Yeah.
Except she hated it. It was awful. Because it turns out running a restaurant and thinking about one are not the same thing at all. She's ordering stuff all the time. She's hiring high school kids who quit every other day. She's cooking the same food every darn day over and over again. Like, nobody told me about this.
She should have run a prototype.
She should have run some prototypes. She could have had conversations with other people who own restaurants or delis, easily found, or people who tried it and failed. She could have had experiences. Let's not sell the farm. Just how about, hey, maybe cater your friend's daughter's wedding on the weekend. You don't have to buy anything for that. You could even get a job as like a waitress or a bus girl in an Italian restaurant and listen in to see if people are talking about as interesting things as they did when you lived in Tuscany for 6 months, or they're just talking about the election, whatever is on their mind. And you could actually have these experiences. And we talked with her after this was all over. She said, boy, I sure wish I had done that. She successfully finally got rid of the successful business, did restaurant design for a while, then went off into another business. But if Elise had prototyped her life with a couple of conversations and a couple of experiences, she'd have had an entirely different experience of sneaking up on the future.
So that's pretty much it. Our message is you can't engineer your life. It's not a tame problem. And you can't plan it because no plan of action is going to survive first contact with reality. But you can design it, because design is an adaptable process that allows you to continue to change the outcome when you get more data. And the data in the future you get through prototyping. So, again, get curious. Talk to people. Try stuff. It's really almost that simple.
Really? That's a big question, and that seems too simple. I mean, just get curious, talk to people, try stuff. Does this really work?
Well, it really does work. Now, we both teach at Stanford. It's a big research university. We can't actually, like some other people, just make stuff up. Doesn't work. Our peers demand...
It's called data, people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our peers demand evidence, and so we have had 2 PhD studies, one in the School of Education, one in the School of Psychology, that demonstrate that people who actually apply these principles, have increased self-efficacy, more and better ideas, and feel like they have the ability to plan, or design the life that they really want. But more important than that, this is a 10-year-old class. The book is based on our experience with 2,000 or 3,000 students, and not just our millennials, but mid-career people, people in their encore careers, and they all report that by using these methods, they have a more positive outcome and things happen.
And what we hear from these people, and again, now we're working with them, 30s, 40s, midlife people, encore people. We just came back from a long strategy session with the AARP. We did a seminar in Manhattan with a bunch of 373 people, and front and center was a young woman from the class of 1950, 87 years old, and she could not wait to design the rest of her life. She got stuck on the exercise, and I thought, well, she's 87, what are you going to do? But I went down to help her, and I said, how you doing? She goes, I just have so many ideas, I don't know where to start. That's an aspirational way to live. what we're hearing back from these people are two things. Number one, you know, guys, I think I could do this. This looks doable to me. And it is, because we set the bar low, clear it, do it again. And thing two, we hear, you know, I'm feeling more hopeful, because the world is changing fast. Nobody's going to do anything for 3 to 5 years anymore. If I have to do anything, I have to reinvent my life over and over again in the coming future. And frankly, I feel a lot more hopeful if I think I know how to do that.
Right. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. We wish you all the opportunity to design a life that works for you. Thank you.
May you all have a well-lived and joyful life. Thank you.